It's a pleasure to have our friend, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, with us. How you liking your job, Lee?
Oh, I'm loving it. And especially serving with President Trump, he is locked in and kicking ass.
Sure is, and so are you, and so is Elon Musk. So let's start with this $20 billion slush fund, and then let's get into the Stacey Abrams aspect of it.
There was a video that came out a couple of months ago, Project Veritas video. They got a Biden EPA political appointee talking about how they were throwing gold bars off the Titanic, rushing to get billions of dollars out the door before President Trump was sworn in, and giving out the money with an eye towards getting jobs for themselves from the recipient NGOs. So we've been trying to find the gold bars. We've found $20 billion worth parked at a bank outside of government. Well, the EPA under Biden gave out all of the money up front, and it was going to 8 recipients. 8 recipients, NGOs,
Amazing.
all pass-throughs, received all $20 billion. That includes $2 billion for Power Forward Communities, which is Stacey Abrams' organization. Another $5 billion went to another entity where the person who gave it out, the director of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, was giving it out to his former employer. And that money was going to other entities, and some of them were pass-throughs. And I read through the grant agreement a little while ago for the $2 billion that went to Stacey Abrams' NGO. And page 1 of it says that $2 billion has to get distributed within 21 days.
Holy.
And then page 7 of the grant agreement says that within 90 days, they have to complete a training called How to Develop a Budget. I would suggest that if you don't know how to build a budget out, 1, that you need to take the training before you get $1, and 2, you definitely shouldn't be getting $2 billion.
I would think for that kind of money to go out, and sums much smaller than that kind of money, there would be some kind of a process. I mean, is there any way to know who directed this, who was responsible for it, the communications that took place between the EPA and that particular recipient and so forth? Yes,
and it was actually multiple agencies. You had EPA and Treasury and OMB, the Office of Management and Budget. They were all working together to develop this scheme to get the money out. And now in writing, they took steps to limit the amount of oversight and accountability that government would have on purpose. September 18th is the financial agent agreement between Treasury and the bank. That limits oversight in many respects. The account control agreement dated November 1st, that was with the grant recipient. Again, there were 8 primary recipients, the bank and EPA. That also has all sorts of measures to limit EPA oversight. But then once the money goes to the sub-grantees, EPA isn't even a party to those account control agreements. And they were amending the account control agreements right up to inauguration. They were amending 3 of them on January 13th, just a week to go. And now here's the craziest thing. If I send a notice of exclusive control to the bank right now, I have to show that I have met all sorts of different elements of a crime being committed. And even when I do, it creates more powers, not less, for the grantee. The grantee can respond by telling the bank, hey, here's the other bank where I now want you to move my money now that EPA has established this notice of exclusive control. So if I say that there is fraud committed in this letter to the bank, the grantee can respond by moving their money to some other bank.
Are you going to be able to pull any of this money back?
This is something I've been working closely with the Justice Department and the Department of Treasury. Pam Bondi's amazing, and now she has a new FBI director as of a few hours ago, and Cash is going to be fantastic. And that is something for them to be running point on. We're here to help them as much as possible, and I have a lot of confidence in Pam Bondi and her team. And they have been very focused, serious, and deliberate with this.
Has there been any effort to contact these 8 recipients or organizations to tell them, hold off there, boys and girls, we're going to try and get that money back?
The money is currently frozen. At this point, this is something where Justice Department is in the lead. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. So it's under investigation, I guess?
I can't confirm that.
Nor deny, which means yes. Okay, it's all right.
I would have to forward you to our friends at the Justice Department.
Well, a $20 billion slush fund, I mean, that is outrageous. And to push it really in the last months of the Biden administration, that's unbelievable. And OMB, really, the White House staff knew about these sorts of things. Don't you think this is the tip of the iceberg as Musk and Doge keep going through these departments and agencies one after another? Take off your EPA administrator hat for a second. You know, EPA is a big deal. It mostly does grants and contracts. People don't realize it really doesn't do a lot of scientific work and so forth. It pays for all that stuff. But you've got other departments and agencies that are like 10 times the size of the EPA. Can you imagine?
In this case, you're absolutely right. And I think the work that Elon Musk and his team have been doing have been a great service to the American people. I could say from personal experience that they have identified many grants that I have since canceled, which as of the next round of grants, it will be over $100 million. After the first round, it was $60 million. I did the first 9 working with them. I also canceled a grant for $50 million for Climate Justice Alliance. It's an organization that says that climate justice runs through a free Palestine. We canceled over $1 million worth of media subscriptions. We are trying to protect every dollar we can, and Elon's been doing this with all of these different agencies, and God bless him for it.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting any nasty letters from Democrats on the Hill for some reason telling you to stop this or something or other?
Absolutely, and they want the money for their friends. Yeah, I gave you the example of Stacey Abrams' organization getting $2 billion in 2023. Get this, Mark. In 2023, Stacey Abrams' organization received a total of $100. Mm-hmm. In 2024, they got a $2 billion grant. The amount of self-dealing that's going on, the conflicts, they want to take care of their friends. And now you can make an argument that there is a community that has been left behind, and they have this really important environmental issue where we need to deal with that. But in the name of that, to be giving out billions of dollars to your friends to do left-wing activism, that doesn't sit right with me.
Okay, Lee Zeldin, again, take off your administrator hat, although either way, it's fine. You're looking at Congress now. When you were in Congress, did you ever think, I mean, you knew there was bloat and waste and fraud and abuse. Did you ever think there was anything like this?
No, this is next level. And this ended up happening with the Inflation Reduction Act. Congress passed it, and it was just more money than the Biden administration was capable of being able to keep tabs on to ensure it was getting distributed correctly. And the people who were out there protesting Elon and protesting Doge and President Trump, they want to put their hands in the cookie jar, and they're upset that they're losing out on their stash that they secured passage of. I spent 8 years in the House. As you know, I've seen plenty of waste and abuse, but I haven't seen anything like the way this funding is getting just basically pushed out the back door the last half a year of the Biden administration, because they just weren't able to do it themselves responsibly. So they said, well, here, NGO friends, you could do it.
And even now, when you look at the party opposite, the Democrat Party, they have absolutely no interest in uncovering any of this stuff, do they?
They're actually outraged that we have a zero tolerance for even a penny of waste. And whether it's $100,000 saved, it's $10 million saved, it's $20 billion saved, any amount, large or small, is our duty as a good steward of tax dollars. It is our fiduciary duty to the taxpayer. It is our oath. We should all be universally all focused on making sure that we're not wasting money. But they're actually outraged. A whole bunch of congressional Democrats sending me letters and calling up and protesting at our front door because we're not just sending it out, no questions asked. I made a commitment to the American people. I made a commitment when I was going through my confirmation hearing in Congress that if confirmed, that I was going to make it a top priority to get to the bottom of all this. And other members of President Trump's cabinet did the same thing as well. And yeah, for these congressional Democrats, they just want the money out, no questions asked. They don't care if it's getting wasted.
Isn't it because it's going to their friends, it's going to their causes, it's supporting their ideology, 100%. So they don't give a damn if there's waste, fraud, and abuse or not?
100%. And you know what? When you see these congressional Democrats pushing new legislation where they want to create a $1 trillion climate fund, when you see pushing something like environmental justice, or in the name of climate change, they're willing to bankrupt the country or cause extreme economic pain on their own constituents they claim they're there to fight for. The words and the ideas that might poll well is one thing, but the actual implementation of it is something that at this point, Americans should be a lot more informed, a lot more aware of, and don't let the Democrats pull the wool over our eyes. It is a policy that unfortunately wastes too much tax dollars, and we can't afford any more of it.
I mean, do they actually think this is politically wise to be defending waste, fraud, and abuse, defending the federal bureaucracy, defending the IRS, defending people ripping off Social Security and so forth? I mean, they really must want to protect this bloat, this government within a government is what I call it, this subterranean government. Because I think they're willing to put all the cards on the table and fight for it.
Yeah, and they say that Elon Musk wasn't elected. Well, none of the people in the executive branch other than Donald Trump and J.D. Vance were elected. Mm-hmm. And it's important for all of us to make sure that we are doing our part and that Elon Musk, who's worth, I don't know, hundreds of billions of dollars, he could be enjoying a life that keeps him out of this mess in D.C., but there are so many people stepping up because they love this country. They feel a calling to serve. And does it threaten the status quo? Absolutely. And there is an efficiency that is desperately needed, and I would say that this is a presidency 1 month in that is on pace to be the greatest 4 years that we've ever experienced in a presidential term. I want more of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to need to hold the House because these fools are already talking about impeachment. And you know they're very dangerous and evil, and they will do whatever they have to do from their perspective to sabotage him. So it's very important that we remain united as conservatives, as MAGA, as Republicans, both in the administration, out of the administration, and in the House. Now, let me ask you this, your knowledge in the House. Do you think the Republicans will be smart enough to unite around some reasonable package of tax cuts and spending cuts and spending priorities so we don't lose a single member because we can't really afford to?
Yes, I do. We have to. And there are a lot of promises that were made to the American public, and you have to keep your commitment. I served with Jim Jordan my 8 years that I was in the House, and he was always talking about keeping your commitments. And don't forget, when that last election took place, you're knocking on those doors, what you promised the people when you're asking for their vote, you have to earn that continued trust. And the American public elected a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican president. It's important to deliver on your promises. And that's a lesson for anyone, regardless of party, regardless of what office you're elected to serve. Too many people forget where they came from once they get in. They forget what they promised once they get in. And they do not deserve any continued power if they fail to deliver.
Mm-hmm. And your priorities, in addition, and it's a lot of work, to digging out where all this money has gone and so forth and so on, is what over there at the EPA?
We are finishing up our Phase 1 hazardous material removal in Los Angeles. President Trump came into office. He said that EPA had 30 days to finish it with over 13,000 properties to survey and clear. We've been all over it to get it done on time, and we're going to get it done on time. Finishing up our mission in East Palestine, Ohio, and Western North Carolina. We just got a new mission assignment in Kentucky where there's flooding. I was just in Flint, Michigan today. There is a lot of important work on the ground. President Trump talks about how Americans should have access to clean air, land, and water. To have land, air, and water that is cleaner, safer, and healthier, that is something that conservatives believe in. We believe in conservation. It's something that we fight for proudly. We have to deliver on that, too.
Yeah, the Democrats believe in spending money and rewarding their ideological soulmates. And you guys believe in actually doing something with the environment. Nothing goofy and radical and weird, just the basics. And that's very, very important. Lee Zeldin,
Amen.
Thank you, my friend. You're doing a great job over there.
Thanks, Mark. Have a great night.
You too. God bless you. He's great, isn't he? I like these cabinet secretaries. He's a cabinet-level administrator. They're enthusiastic about what they're doing. You hear Sean Duffy, you hear him, you've heard Hegseth, you hear the others. They're enthusiastic about what they're doing. They really want to jump in. They're not looking to just have a big name and big title and so forth. It's very, very exciting what's taking place.